Fedora Linux, Red Hat's upstream innovation lab. Agenda: Linux release philosophies. Fedora history. Why Fedora release lifecycle? Getting started. Basic workflow. DNF and RPM. Linux distribution philosophies. Early Linux distribution makes trade-offs between stability and how current its software is, and how much freedom versus convenience it offers. If a distribution ships every new feature the moment it's written, stability can suffer. If it waits too long, users miss real improvements. Almost every distribution positions itself somewhere between bleeding edge and rock solid. And Fedora aims to sit close to the innovative end while staying usable daily. Any team that eventually needs enterprise-grade Linux benefits from a distribution whose changes have already been tested somewhere first. Shipping untested changes straight to millions of production servers doesn't scale, and neither does freezing software for years. Downstream stable and upstream innovation. A downstream stable distribution focuses purely on long-term reliability with no separate project depending on it for testing. Fedora instead acts as an upstream innovation lab where new features are proven out before flowing downstream into Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Downstream stable Debian, Ubuntu LTS. No downstream depends on it. Upstream innovation Fedora feeds into RHEL, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, feeds into CentOS Stream. Problems without an upstream testing ground. Single point of risk, untested new features land directly in a long-term production critical release. Enterprise distributions without an upstream loss. The chance to catch problems before customers do. Innovation slows when every change has to clear the same high bar as a stable, years-long release. Hard to separate. Cutting edge might break software from stable, proven software in one release stream. Community contributors have fewer ways to get new ideas in front of real users quickly. Misses out on a fast feedback loop between newly written software and the people actually running it. The Fedora system packages are built in the RPM format and installed with DNF, Fedora's package manager. New features are proposed, developed, and tested in Fedora's release before any of that work reaches Red Hat Enterprise Linux. SE Linux is enabled and enforcing by default, reflecting Fedora's security-conscious approach to a typical desktop or server. Other RPM-based and related distributions: Red Hat Enterprise Linux, CentOS Stream, OpenSUSE. Fedora advantages: ships new Linux features and toolchain updates faster than most stable long-term distributions. SE Linux enforcing by default gives a stronger security baseline out of the box, acts as a real-world proving ground before changes reach Red Hat's enterprise products. DNF resolves dependencies cleanly and supports easy rollback of transactions. Backed by a large community and Red Hat's ongoing sponsorship and engineering investment. Everything is free and open source almost. One huge benefit is that Fedora ships almost nothing that isn't free and open source software by default. Proprietary codecs, drivers, and firmware are deliberately left out of the base system and official repositories. Optional repositories like RPM Fusion exist separately for anyone who explicitly wants non-free software. This strict separation means the default install is something anyone can fully inspect and redistribute. The policy reflects Fedora's first foundation, freedom, applied consistently across the whole distribution. DNF and RPM. DNF, Fedora's package manager, resolving dependencies and applying transactions. RPM, the package format DNF installs, built from a .spec file. Common DNF commands. DNF handles installing, updating, and removing RPM packages with SAFE rollback built in. A simple RPM spec file. A .spec file describes how to build an RPM package from source. History. Fedora traces back to 2003 when Red Hat splits its product line into the community-driven Fedora project and commercial Red Hat Enterprise Linux. The name comes from Fedora Linux itself, inspired by the Fedora hat worn by Red Hat's own mascot, Shadow Man. Fedora quickly became Red Hat Enterprise Linux upstream, with features proven out in Fedora before landing in Red Hat's enterprise releases. The distribution adopted is Linux, systemd, Wayland, and other significant Linux technologies early, often ahead of most other distributions. IBM's acquisition of Red Hat in 2019 didn't change Fedora's community governance, which remains independent of direct corporate control. Why Fedora? Innovative. New Linux technologies typically appear in Fedora before most other distributions. Secure by default, AC Linux enforcing out-of-the-box raises the security baseline. Principled, a strict free and open source only policy for the default system. Enterprise relevant. What works in Fedora often becomes tomorrow's RHEL feature. Well supported, backed by Red Hat's engineering investment and a large community. Multiple editions, workstation, server, IoT, and atomic variants with different use cases. The four foundations. Fedora's four foundations: freedom, friends, features, first. Guide nearly every project decision. Freedom, ship free and open source software and give users freedom to use, modify, and share it. Friends, build a respectful, collaborative community around the project. Features, continually adopt and integrate innovative new features. First, ship those features to users as early as responsibly possible rather than waiting. Fedora release cycle. Feature proposal propose. Tested continuously. Rawhide. Stabilize. Branch. Ship to users. Release. Features are proposed, developed and tested continuously in Rawhide, branched and stabilized for release, and finally shipped to users roughly every 6 months. Getting started with Fedora. This leads us to the 3 steps that get a Fedora system running. Download the ISO. Download a Fedora edition that fits Your use case. Install with Anaconda. Use Fedora's graphical installer to set up your system. Run your first update. Bring the freshly installed system fully up to date. Basic workflow. Explore the code in GitHub. Download the ISO. Install. Experiment. Maintain. Optimize. Updating, installing, and upgrading. Some call update, install, and upgrade Fedora's everyday loop. DNF upgrade, refresh should be run regularly to stay current within a release. New packages can be searched and installed directly from Fedora's official repositories. Major version upgrades happen roughly every 6 months using DNF system upgrade. SC Linux policies apply automatically to new packages, keeping the security baseline consistent. Supports many workflows, desktops, servers, cloud images, and container-based images. Works the same across Fedora's various editions and spins. Any questions? Thank you.